Alright, so you didn't kill him in military and you're going into age 3. That leaves different possibilities. So you're going into age 3 and you either have a huge lead in military, you have a huge loss in military, so one of those two, or you're equal. So those three. Okay. And then you could be close to winning in science. Maybe you have four science symbols. You need four to go into the next stage to have a chance at winning in science. Actually, if law is still out there, you could have three. But anyways, we're just talking the base game, Seven Wonders Duel, going into age 3, and we're looking at the age 2 cards. So maybe you've taken a bunch of these science cards, then you could have that situation. You could have your opponent having a lot of science cards, or you could be both pretty neutral. Nobody took any science cards. And so, is science possible to win for either of you? So, what are the three states of military? Losing, winning, equal. Is science possible to end the game? Um, and what resources are you missing? Those different options might decide how you go into the next stage. But now we are going into the next stage in this tier list, looking at the top cards for age 3. Okay, so this is looking at the base game, so I'm not going to be able to talk with complete confidence because I got to the top 20 in Seven Wonders Duel with the Pantheon expansion. If I had relied on my skills at the base game, I wouldn't have gotten there. So Pantheon really helped when I made that switch going into Pantheon. I won't be talking about these cards with the Pantheon expansion, adding the Grand Temples, but I will talk about these guilds a bit. So let's go over the guilds first. The guilds are important. You're going to see 3 guilds at the start of age 3. Sometimes all 3 are face down. Sometimes some of them are face up. It's important to note that depending on how coins are going in the game, uh, the Moneylenders Guild could be the most important card in the entire structure. Because if it comes down to points, which many Seven Wonders Duel base games especially come down to points. If it's coming like that, then if somebody has 30 coins, let's say, then this becomes a 10-point card. So yeah, that's a huge, huge swing in points with just one card. And so we're talking about the most common option. It's going to come down to points. So we're going to be looking at each of the guilds for their points, and so then we're looking at the next one, which is also a high points one. This is the Builders Guild, and that's going to be worth usually 8 points. Usually Builders Guild is worth 8 points. There's a chance in Agora it could be worth 10 points. That's very rare. So we'll say this is an 8-point card. So we got a 10-point card, we got an 8-point card. And this could not be 10 points. It might be less than 10 points. So we'll say that Moneylenders Guild and Builders Guild, we'll say, are about even. Maybe the Moneylenders Guild is only an 8-point card, but the Builders Guild is going to for sure be an 8-point card. It could be the case that at the end of the game nobody has any coins, then Moneylenders Guild is not worth anything. But likely when somebody takes the Moneylenders Guild, they either took it because their opponent had a bunch of coins, or they themselves had a bunch of coins, and then the rest of their game, their prerogative is to just discard a bunch of cards, and every single card, if it's giving them 6 coins, it's actually giving them 4 points. So you can analyze the rest of the structure by, hey, what's going to give me the most as far as coin points after taking Moneylenders Guild. It becomes very powerful. Now let's look at some of the other guilds. So the Magistrates Guild, that's going to become pretty important. I think people start grabbing a lot of blue cards in this age, and you could get maybe 5 points out of that one. The Scientist Guild, what is that one called? Yeah, the Scientist Guild, that's the name of it. You can tell I don't play much base game, so I don't don't you really look at these cards that often. But maybe we'll put that guild in B tier because maybe somebody has 4 science cards and it gives you 4 coins and 4 money. Magistrate's Guild, people haven't really been grabbing blue cards, but they will start grabbing them. So you get less coins, but more points. And let's see, the Merchant's Guild. I'd say that's pretty high up there. Maybe around with where the Magistrate's Guild is. Maybe a little higher. It really depends if people have been grabbing yellow cards or not. But you've been grabbing yellow cards if you've been paying attention to this tier list. So you're probably going to want to take the Magistrate's Guild. And or not the Magistrates, the Merchant's Guild. Get a bunch of coins for all the yellow cards that you have. Then the Ship Owners Guild. It depends. If you're playing against somebody who grabbed a bunch of resources all throughout the game, maybe they have monopolized your wood and you have no way to get wood, and then you just happen to have the resources to grab this card, then you can stick it to the man and get a bunch of coins for taking this one. Because your opponent, if they're in that monopoly fetish type personality, they probably grabbed a bunch of brown cards and a bunch of gray cards. And so if you do that and you only have maybe a customs house and a clay and a stone, then you can still be good because you'll get a bunch of coins for what they've taken. And because Shipowners Guild doesn't cost any wood. All right, we're done with that, and we won't look at the Grand Temples, we said. So let's put those back. And now we're going to look at, let's see the science cards. So we're looking at the science cards. The Academy, there's the 2 of them that give you 3 points, and 2 of them that give you only 2 points and are super cheap. So the expensive ones and the cheap ones. So the 2 expensive ones, I would say, yeah, those ones, it really depends. If you're going for science, we'll put them all in B tier for now, but B tier is the middle. Like, it really depends. If science is an option, put them high. If science is not an option, put them low. Use them to create wonders to get some points out of. But base game, it really just depends. Is science an option? Remember the things I said in the beginning of this video. Are you winning, losing, or equal in military? That's 1. Is science ending a possibility? It's 2. Then 3 would be the how the economy is going. So if science is possible to end it, these become a higher priority. If science is not going to end the game, these science cards go lower. So they won't actually remain in B tier. All right. So next up, we got some of these straggler yellow cards. So age 3 yellow cards are the worst of the yellow cards, but it's still important to grab them sometimes. They can offer you some money, and often the linking symbols from some of them can be pretty useful and make the cards very free. And the rest of the cards are just generally cheap all around. So let's look at the lighthouse. That's going to give you 1 coin for every yellow card you have. I like that card. I'll put it in B tier. That's going to be 3 coins plus maybe some points from coins. Let's say you got 6 coins from that. You take the lighthouse as your 6th card, you get 6 coins. And yeah, so that's a 5 point card with some of those coins being able to be used for even more points potentially. Then you have the arena, which is going to be 3 points, but 2 coins per wonder that you've already built. A little bit less useful, I'd say, because you're only getting the coins for building your own wonders. It's not like the Builders Guild where you get points for what other people build. So in that case, I would put, I would say that don't build this just so that you can, or don't build all your wonders just so that you can build this and get 2 more coins. because it's just a small margin for possibly giving up a strategic advantage, and that should be said about the arena. That's especially true for the Pantheon, but today we're just talking about the base game. The base game, sure, take that advantage, actually. Um, it it is when you get to H3, it is about constructing all of your wonders. If you're not looking at one of the first two cases I said, if you're not looking at losing or winning in military, and you're not looking at losing or winning in science, it's about building all of those wonders because those wonders are going to give you the biggest bang for your buck as far as points. Um, Calculating points gets really tough at the end of the game, so at least for me, so I think it can be difficult, but there's some guidelines to follow. That third thing I talked about, are you losing or lacking in any resources? So if you are lacking in stone, that's going to be really a huge problem. Um, so maybe you have some other brown cards, take the port and get some coins from that because you're going to need coins. Because if you're lacking in stone, you're probably not going to be able to build the armory. That's a 2 stone, one glass, and that'll give you some coins for every military card you bought. But maybe that's the strategy you're going for is a military strategy, and you don't have any stone because you were listening to my YouTube channel, and I told you that if you're going military, you need clay, not stone. So now you come here and you grab the armory, and you're like, oh my goodness, that costs so much money. And I only had 3 military cards going into H3 when I grabbed this, so that gave me 3 coins, but it cost me an arm and a leg to maybe 4 coins a stone it cost me. And so now I'm at I ended up needing to pay 8 coins for that armory. Like that's probably not good to build the armory at that. So you just got to be careful with the armory, as well as the Chamber of Commerce. It could be really expensive. It's giving you 3 coins for each gray card you have, but it's going to be maybe you don't even grab any great cards. Maybe in Age 2, you just grabbed that customs house and said, all right, I'm good. Or maybe you already had Piraeus and you grabbed the Forum, and then now you don't need any gray cards the rest of the game because almost nothing costs 3 gray cards in the entire game, I would say. No, that's not true. The Grand Temple start adding more, but base game we're talking, nothing's going to cost 2 gray cards. So yeah, it would make sense for you to once you have access to 2 gray cards, you're probably good. Now this one does take 2. The Chamber of Commerce takes 2 of the same gray card, so just pay the coins for the other one. You may end up paying 3 coins, but that's okay. You'll get the 3 coins back and you'll get 3 points. But yeah, I'm saying those 2 are gonna be like C tier ones, not as useful. Then now we're moving on to let's talk some of these point ones. So we've got this 6-point card, the Gardens. That one linking symbols, and so there's a 6-pointer. That's probably pretty good to grab. You got these S tiers. We're looking at potential for 8 or more points. And then A tiers, let's look at 6 or more points. So let's look at the Palace as well. Even though the Palace, you might bleed out some points for glass, so that's really only a 6-point card, but it's fine. The Gardens, 6 points. The Pantheon, 6 points. The Senate, 5 points, and that is a linking symbol, so that's fine. We'll put that in kind of up there. I think the Lighthouse could potentially be worth 6 points, so maybe we'll move that up. But yeah, the Senate, a 5-point card. The Obelisk, only 5 points, no linking symbol, and you need 2 stone to get it. So just how it goes, a lot of these cards are going to be costing stone in this age. And then you have this card that costs 3 stone, the Town Hall, for 7 points. That's just really hard to build, and you may end up paying a lot of coins for doing that. And so maybe it's really likely only going to be worth a 5-point, like a 5-point card, just like the Senate, rather than a 6-point card like the Palace would be. The Palace does cost glass too, so it really comes down to like, do you have glass and do you have stone going into H3? Because those are going to be key items for making sure you are able to get points in H3. Next up, we're going to look at the military cards and call it good. So for these military cards, I would say yeah, so if we're saying like potential for 8 or more points with S tier, potential for more 6 or more, potential for 5 or more, potential for 4 or more, and potential for 3 or more. Obelisk could be worth a total of 5, but likely you're going to spend some coins and be in a bad situation. So we'll put that in the D tier if there is a D tier card in H3. Yeah, I think even these yellow cards could be D tier if you don't grab them early enough. So yeah, probably have that big gap with Chamber of Commerce and Armory down there. But and maybe even slide the port down. Yeah, once again, these science cards are not going to stay in the B tier because if you're going for science, those go higher. And if you are trying to avoid science from being taken, if you have your choice between Moneylenders Guild or losing the game because of science, you give up the Moneylenders Guild and you give your opponent the science. Even though Moneylenders Guild is so powerful, you take that science card and you hide it from your opponent. Maybe construct a wonder, or if they don't have Mausoleum, you discard it. Now, speaking of Mausoleum, a player could discard these two expensive military cards, and in discarding them, they could, yeah, when they discard these two military cards, they could rebuy them with the Mausoleum. So that's a 3 card, or 3 shield, that's a 3 shield. And getting a 3 shields out of Mausoleum, and also the 2 points from Mausoleum, that'll be pretty useful. You could crush your opponent in military, or at least make them lose some money, and so they can't buy what they need to be able to buy. And maybe they want to buy a military to stop you, but they can't because you just crushed their coins with a 3 shielder. The 2 shields also being pretty valuable, and often so valuable, in fact, that they become more important than the point set in some cases. Because just having 2 shields makes your opponent not be able to afford these more expensive blue cards, and so it could be important to take all of these shields. But yeah, if you already have a huge lead in military, that 3rd shield may be what you need to close it out. You only need 9 more shields than your opponent to win the game. That's the rule. So yes, like I said in the beginning of this video, everything will come down to what we talked about in the beginning. Winning or losing in military, how is science looking, and what resources are you missing? You need to be, you can't really do much with that last thing, but it's important to know where you stand. If you know that you're losing out in resources, maybe even though military is even, you're going to have to try to win in military. Because if you're missing stone, you may have to push with these 3 military cards and maybe spend a lot of coins to grab a 4th military card. That would be 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That'd be 10 military. Maybe you have a military wonder, and then maybe they have a military wonder. You fight back and forth, but a 10 military, that would be enough because you only need 9 more than your opponent. So just grabbing 4 of 5 military card of 5 military cards in H3 would cause you to win, starting at even going into from H2 to H3. That's why I talk about that 3rd thing. How are you doing with resources? Because really, of all the times to look at what the resource costs of all the cards are, it's going to be in H3 because those huge margins, or those small margins, really pay great dividends if you can have the coins to afford a certain strategy. So if you don't have the stone, you may consider giving up and saying, okay, I can't win in points, and going for a military strategy. If you are lacking in wood, you're just kind of screwed either way. You shouldn't have been lacking wood in the first place because your priority should have been wood in H1. But yeah, if you're lacking in wood, I don't know what to tell you. Is all the strategies are going to need some wood, points or science or military. But likely you have wood and you're missing stone. It's a very common story. And so that's why I'd say ask yourself where you're at. If you are missing wood, though, you could still win in military. You're just going to have to discard every single other card. Because a point strategy where you're looking at all the cards, needing to take a lot of cards to beat your opponent if you're both going points, um, doesn't allow you to discard as often. A military strategy allows you to discard much more. A science strategy, going all into science, allows you to discard a ton because your card selection is so small that you hardly need any cards. Um, and so yeah, that's how we're looking as far as you want to look at your extra turns that you have. But yeah, as far as the base game, that is what we're looking at for the tier list for age 3 cards. So top of the list, I know some people won't agree with me, but the Moneylenders Guild, I'm standing firm, is the top. Builders Guild, I used to think that was the worst of the guilds, but it gives you 8 points, and if you're just looking for points, that's where you're at. You'll be hard pressed to get 8 points out of these 3, but those are also good. 7 points, but really likely 6 points with the Palace. 6 points even with the Gardens, you probably get that for free. The Pantheon, probably find a way to get that for free, maybe cost a couple coins, but 6 points nonetheless. It's when it costs 3 coins, you start lowering the amount that you're gaining from it. The Lighthouse, maybe you get six points out of because you get 6 coins and then 3 points. Well, I guess that would only add up to 5, but you could use those coins for other things, so it's probably still worth a 6-pointer. Moving on down, you got the military. The military, as far as points, like it does offer you something. It offers as far as making your opponent lose coins and gaining you some military points, either 2 or 5 or 10 points. That could be a 5-point jump right there, and making your opponent discard 2 coins or discard 5 coins rather. That's like a 6-point card. So now we're down to 8, 6, 5-point cards. Yeah, these all look good. 5 points, and like I said, science really does depend. This science guild being probably the weakest of all the guilds, but could give you a ton of points. But at that point in the game, if it ends up giving you 5 points and 5 coins, you should need to be really looking at the situation and to be, oh shoot, maybe I shouldn't be going for points. Maybe I should be going for taking away my opponent's science cards instead of going for points. You may already have what you need as far as points. Now, what could happen is you have 5 science cards, but you don't have what it takes, or you don't see a way to win in science. Then in that case, you were going for science, and now you need this card. Hopefully you have the clay for it. Probably have the wood. All right, next up, the arena. I like where the arena and port are. And then finally, the obelisk, which you're going to spend a good amount on because the stone and glass is just so hard to grab, and you got so many competing needs, and if you don't have the stone or glass, that card becomes very expensive. And then the Chamber of Commerce and the Armory. So thank you so much for watching this tier list. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Please remember to subscribe so you get more notifications like this, these tier lists. And my next videos will be looking at the Pantheon expansion and their card tier list, which will kind of differ from what you've just seen in these last 3 videos. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.